I think now mature people are looking for a more like friendly adventure. Like, you know, people who are our age really enjoyed Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah.
You know, more than like a hard M-rated thing.
Yeah, we're not searching
you know?
for all the next edgy game.
Exactly.
So I guess if we were the primary audience, we have grown up, and so like when you're in your teens and your early 20s, you're like, man, I like hardcore stuff, man. I want to see it all. This is real. This is mature. And then you grow up. And I think actually God of War is a good example of that. We saw God of War 2 had gore, sex, violence.
Mm-hmm.
The new God of War, they call Dad of War. He's got a big beard and he goes fishing with his son. And like, it's more about his relationship with his son and killing lots and lots of things.
YUNKJunk!
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tubby Talk. We talked about edutainment last week, and Dylan said that we mentioned mature games. So we're going to talk about mature games, and the very first mature game. Do you know what the earliest console video game to receive a mature rating from the Entertainment Software Rating Board was?
It should have been Custer's Last Stand.
Oh.
Well, maybe some more things before that too.
Oh, yeah.
But it was actually the SNES version of Doom.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Because I think of that as well after a lot of the controversy, and that's one of the reasons, right?
So yeah, so like Mortal Kombat could have been one of the first M-rated games on the SNES, but they toned it down.
Well,
Oh, good point.
but on the Genesis, they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, Genesis does, but Nintendo don't.
But the ESRB did not exist prior to this.
Yes, that's
It's
what
part
we
of the
figured
reason.
out.
Yeah, part of the reason it was created.
Well, it was
For
created.
the Mortal Kombat ratings controversy.
Well,
it
was fun.
caused.
The whole creation of that is a really interesting story because, Mortal Kombat came out,
Yeah.
Night Trap came out on the Sega CD, and senators started getting in on, oh my God, they're hurting the children. They're showing these horrible things. We need to police
Senators,
this.
you mean Joe Lieberman?
Yeah, there were a couple more, but yes.
Like, what's her face? The one lady that hated Tupac. I forget her name.
Yeah.
They were like the big.
Was she this lady?
No.
She didn't like that lady.
But so basically the Senate and the House came at the video game company and they're like, what are you doing about this? And basically video game companies were like, the last thing we want is a government agency like going over us. So they invented the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Rating Bureau.
ESRB.
I did.
It's not electronic software.
Yes.
So it was a direct response to Mortal Kombat, it says here.
That's where it's rating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is a completely independent entity. It's not controlled by the government. It's funded by the game industry.
Didn't
though.
know that.
Yeah, much like the MPAA.
Yeah. So they were like, hey, we'll police ourselves. So you don't have to, government, because that would be bad for our bottom line. And they were like, all right, we don't want to deal with taxpayer money and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it still exists to this day.
Uh-huh.
It rates all the games that come out
In North America.
in North America. Yes.
Europe has Peggy.
Peggy.
Peggy
Peggy
12.
12.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's funny. It's kind of, people don't think of it. Oh, it's not a government agency. It's not. It has nothing to do with the government. It's just to keep the government off the game makers' backs.
Yeah, voluntary rating system based on the
You know,
MPAA.
I just realized no rating system for content morality, for lack of a better term, has been government made. Probably because of the First Amendment. But yeah, like the MPAA, the comics code for comics back in the day, that was an industry like standard they held themselves to.
Yeah, they were doing it for commercial reasons, mostly of like, parents won't buy kids games if they don't think it's
suitable. Yeah. So
no, I mean, not anymore. That's out the window. Whatever you want. But
they don't even know what the kid's downloading on the phone.
And now games just like
all.
E to mature, like Roblox. Actually, just has rating varies.
Rating varies.
I didn't know they would.
It depends on who you're playing against online. Like, is it oh God, I can't say half the words I was gonna say.
Let's see. Despite its positive reception, the ESRB has still faced criticism from politicians and other watchdog groups for the structure of its operations, particularly after a sexually explicit minigame was found within the 2004 game GTA San Andreas, which was inaccessible from the game but could be accessed using a user-created modification.
It was a very stupid scenario. Like, this was this thing that was buried away in the game.
Holy moly.
The hot coffee mod, that's not.
You could not access it unless you hacked the game on a computer.
So was it actually in the game? Because
it was actually It was on the disc.
Okay,
it wasn't in the game, but it was on the disc.
I was under the understanding that someone just modded it in, and the media did not understand a game mod, so they thought it was unlocked.
No,
somehow.
I believe it was made by developers, but it was never actually in the game. Gotcha. It was inaccessible. But then people were like, "Well, I can go through the data and find it and run it," and therefore, like a kid's gonna do that. They're gonna decompile.
I mean, good. That's a good reward for a child that's gonna learn how to hack a game.
I mean, judging from what I've seen, it's a pretty sad reward. You'd be like, "Oh my god, I did all this hacking for what?" It's like 8 polygons gyrating.
This is one of those things that I love about the world we live in. Because now there's a line in Wikipedia that says hot coffee had a major impact on the video game industry. God damn you, hot coffee.
Yeah, people freaked out about this, even though, it was completely inaccessible. It's not like they were selling this to minors. And the thing was, it was a mature rated game already. They were like, this would, but if that was in it, it would have made it adults only, right?
If I don't know if I'm not going to look it up, but I don't know if I'm correct, but I distinctly remember games before and after San Andreas, because San Andreas was when the F word is in video games and it is flying constantly.
I'm pretty sure Vice City had F-bombs in it.
Yeah,
you think so?
I didn't play San Andreas, so I'm not super sure.
I played 3 in Vice City a lot. And I'm pretty sure Vice City has F-bombs.
Vice City had some F-bombs.
That's why they cast Ray Liotta, because he can drop them like nobody's business.
But there definitely was a sea change where it's like, oh, we're just gonna let HBO video games basically. Blah.
It's never in dialogue in Vice City.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
In a song.
Never Say Never by Romeo Void. Not sure which station plays it offhand. But it's have you played? Here's the line. Have you played San Andreas? That's got a lot more use of the F word.
Wow. Okay, you're totally right then. Yeah.
Well, it was an eye-opening experience for me. I would consider myself a somewhat sheltered child. Like I was.
You've only mentioned it in every other podcast we've done.
That I was sheltered?
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that a running thing?
No.
Can we get a sheltered graphic? But with that, I mean, I distinctly remember as a kid, like any sort of sexual content on TV or language and stuff, I would like wince a little bit. So I remember, that probably came out when I was 14, maybe 12 to 14, somewhere in that range. So I still would have been like, oh, geez.
I still do now.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I went, what?
Because you're a parent now?
Because I'm a parent now, right? And that's part of it. Like there was a period of time you go to college, you're a young adult, and like, oh, you just let it fly. We'd be in public and we'd probably be using foul language in diners and things. And like now when I see someone doing like, what a jerk, there's kids around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was the jerk. I should have been more mindful of the kids around.
Well, you say that, but a lot of, I would think the three of us, even as high schoolers, probably would have watched our mouths if there was a child around.
If it was in our, if we were that
like
aware,
if you're at a diner, most people, you go to a diner and it's nighttime.
Oh yeah.
Anyone there, it's teens and drug addicts that are in diners after 10 p.m.
Well, put it this way, I didn't
or
curse.
Drug addict teens.
Yeah, I didn't curse while I was at school because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But I cursed like a sailor all the time. I was not in a place where I was afraid of getting in trouble.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I guess we all are. But for me, you know what? Oh, yes, I liked it. That I like the idea of something in the way of a child hearing foul language for the first time from a group of rowdy teens. Boo, rowdy teens.
Yeah, where they should hear it is in the schoolyard with their peers.
Correct.
Where they learn proper usage of it.
Or in music.
Yeah. Or in music.
So there's a lot of mature video games now. I mean, I think mature video games kind of took over in a way as like the mainstay. I wonder what the profit margins are.
You're sort of right. There are a ton of them. Most of the big AAA games coming out, they are probably rated mature at this point. They are positioned towards people in their 20s through 40s now.
I mean, is
the new Wolverine game mature?
Wolverine?
It is.
You would only know because of leaks, which we shouldn't be looking at. Yeah, like Spider-Man's teen. I don't know if they would even have a rating for Wolverine yet. I guess
it seems like Marvel's Wolverine will indeed be M-rated.
We got a bunch of questions.
It's like that was the thing I was going to mention. Like there are a lot of games that have blood and have violence, and then they're still rated T for teen these days.
Good point.
Like I think like Elden Ring. Elden Ring might be M for mature only because of mature themes mostly. Though it doesn't have much nudity, and it has violence, but it's the same video game violence everything else has.
I don't think I've ever even seen nudity in a video game. Does that exist?
It does exist. In fact,
in like main games.
yes, and I think this is a lot of it happened during the years you were out of the game.
Yeah, the
industry. So these were the grimdark, the brown and gray years. I think about things like I didn't even play it, but God of War apparently had a good amount of nudity.
What?
Yeah. There's like a harem scene. There basically hot coffee happens for real in that game.
I feel like I remember there being nudity in Mass Effect, but I think it's like NYPD Blue
There's
style
like-
top
yeah,
of a
there's like
buttocks
tasteful-
nudity.
yeah. Nudity.
Well,
No,
it only got Peggy 18 for graphic violence and strong language.
Oh, well, so that's the God of War, the new reboot God of War,
Yeah, it means the original
Yeah.
God of War.
which is confusing. It has the same name.
But also Peggy 18 would also allow nudity.
Yeah.
And it's Europe. They
Yeah,
allow
Europe.
nudity at like
God of War
on TV. So.
God
There
of
you go.
War 2, extremely violent and gory fighting game with sex and nudity.
Yep.
Goes a few steps beyond many M-rated games.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Did you guys play God of War?
No.
No, it's like that's funny because it's
I
not the
would
type
have
of
loved
game.
it. I just missed it.
Yeah, you might have been into it. It's the sort of game like I'm not a super big fan of like third party action 3D games for whatever reason, and also like it's very story driven. It's one of those games that I've talked about. It's kind of like, well, you mash and you go through, but maybe not. I don't know. You didn't play it.
That sounds about right. I played like a demo for one. I've played games like it.
Mhm.
I just haven't played it because I didn't have a PlayStation 3.
I remember
So I didn't
I
play any
played
PlayStation 3 games.
Dante's Inferno,
Yeah, so
Which
That
that's
people
game was
would-
terrible. That is also as a mature game too.
but it was widely criticized as a ripoff of God of War, right?
yeah, it's
yeah,
a rip
but
off of God
combat
of
was a
War with
direct
extra
rip-off.
boobs. Like one of the bosses has like 18 boobs.
yeah,
Perfect.
nudity in that game
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
The whole thing was like you're in hell,
I
and
must
Yeah.
have not got that far.
yeah, you didn't make it to the lust circle.
I
Yet.
did not.
There might even been a censorship option.
Yeah, like they put a bar.
But yeah, I definitely remember that being marketed as like it's not your father's God of War. We have extra sex and extra violence.
It was banned in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that was they're really pushing the boundaries, and I feel like they kind of don't do that as much now. Either people don't care as much, or there's just people like, oh, the internet is desensitized.
I think that might be right,
I mean,
but
gamers have
also
also aged. Well, the target audience has aged up.
well, I
a
think it flipped too. I think now mature people are looking for a more like friendly adventure, like people who are our age really enjoyed Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah.
More than like
We're not
a
searching for the
hard
edgy-
M-rated
Yeah,
thing.
we're not searching
you know?
for all the next edgy game.
Exactly.
So I guess if we were the primary audience, we have grown up, and so like when you're in your teens and your early 20s, you're like, man, I like hardcore stuff, man. I want to see it all. This is real. This is mature. And then you grow up. Yeah, I think actually God of War is a good example of that. We saw God of War 2 had gore, sex, violence.
Mhm.
The new God of War, they call Dad of War. He's got a big beard and he goes fishing with his son. And like it's more about his relationship with his son and killing lots and lots of things.
Dude, I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience, and there's this comedian Dan Soder who's like of our generation, and he was explaining to him God of War and like showing him God of War, and like to see this 50-year-old man's face, see how incredible games like that can look. It's amazing.
I'm surprised he doesn't play God of War already.
No, he is famously addicted to Quake 3.
Quake 3 is our favorite.
Famously addicted. I
want to play Quake 3.
They had to get it out of. They removed it from the office because like it was legitimate addiction.
This is the 50-year-old guy, the comedian.
This is Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Oh, Joe Rogan. No. Okay.
Yeah, Joe Rogan is a Quake guy. He's been a Quake guy since the beginning, which was a mature rated game, right?
It was.
Should it have been?
Well, yeah. I mean,
You
It's
explode
kinda-
into bits.
in the modern sensibilities, it's kind of goofy. Like you shoot someone with a rocket launcher and gibs fly out, and there's like a trail of blood, but it's like over the top goofy.
Mhm.
So it depends. Is that mature?
I don't know. I will say like the Mortal Kombat fatalities now are hyper mature.
Yeah, which
Like-
is they're also crazy over the top gory.
Yeah, like on purpose. Like,
Yeah,
they need to top 13 other Mortal Kombat games.
right.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, the Peacemaker stuff was
Okay.
went out of its way.
Yeah, they go up.
I've always
This YouTube video is not made for kids.
I've always loved the X-ray stuff they did in Mortal Kombat, no matter how silly it gets. Like shooting a shotgun with a peace sign shaped
with a piece
bullet spray pattern.
Oh, cool.
I didn't even see this one.
Is that he's
in this series, there were some aliens that look like butterflies, and he's trying to kill the alien that looks like a butterfly and missing.
Cool. But yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Well, it's going for like shock value, right?
Because this is the fatality from
guess it
the
always
release
was.
trailer. Yeah.
Okay.
He throws on a jetpack and just like rips a torso off.
But all of this is like, it's funny, it's gory, but it's cartoonish.
Is it?
It is
Is
cartoon.
that cartoonish
It's-
now?
In real life, a shockwave, even at that close range, would not destroy Omni-Man's torso. That's true. That's very unrealistic.
So yeah, it's not realistic. It's very detailed. I wouldn't call it realistic.
Have you guys ever seen the movie The Hitcher?
No.
So it's this old movie from the 70s that was remade in like the early 2000s. But in it, there's a part where the Hitcher puts like handcuffs this guy between two trucks, like on the wrists and then on the legs, and then drives them apart. And he splits in the middle. Wouldn't you split in the hands?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it rip your hands off
Well,
first?
no. So it would rip off rip you off at the joints. It's been proven because being drawn and quartered was a punishment in the Middle Ages.
So they would
But
tie
they tie
each
the
of your
horse-
limbs
yeah,
to a separate
horse.
horse. And
And have the horses go in different directions and they rip
That's
you.
what drawn and
That's
quartered
what drawing
means?
quarter
Yeah.
means.
But I think they also like scourge the body first.
Yeah.
Like they cut you a bit so you rip apart. At the seams and not at the hands.
Yeah.
Good God.
So the middle, you're probably not undoing your rib cage in that fashion.
Yeah, but yeah, much to your point, your hands would probably be degloved first before anything ripped off.
You wouldn't get ripped in half.
Yeah,
To make the point of Omni-Man being ripped in half. Like that wouldn't happen.
Speaking of mature themes, your hands, skin, and flesh would get ripped off, and then the handcuff will come off with it. You'd have skeleton hands and be free.
This is what mature video games did to us.
Yeah.
Now we have messed up conversations like this.
Actually, this is Stephen King. I learned about degloving from a Stephen King story.
Well, part of it's it kind of just the media, comics. There are a lot of grim, dark comics. I know. I used to draw people getting blown up and cut open all the time in grade school and high school. Like really, today, if this was happening, people probably would have put me away. If they found out.
No.
Oh man.
You probably would have got reported.
I mean,
reported.
it was pre-Columbine.
Right. And then
It was the only reason you
Columbine
read
happened while we were in high school.
Yeah.
So things changed after that. Yeah.
Remember Stick Death?
Oh yeah.
Just makes me think of Stick Death. Like,
I don't think I know Stick. I know Stick Fight. I don't think I know Stick Death.
I think it's like the same. See, this actually looks like it's not animated quite as.
yeah, this doesn't look like what I was thinking of. But
What?
Okay, you're saying what's up? Okay.
oh, jeez, Louise. But yeah, that's what we had.
Yeah.
We had stick figure. What was it? Newgrounds?
Yeah.
Where most of that stuff was?
E-Bombs
Newgrounds, or they
World.
had their own
Something
websites
Awful.
back then. Yeah.
Something awful.
I mean, that's the sort of thing where when we were 14 and 15, that was hilarious.
Okay. Can we look at something? Video games mature, which has some mature games.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the last game.
Animal Crossing New Leaf. That's interesting. I mean, this is just
That is an SEO
Google ain't
error. I'm pretty
perfect.
sure. Yeah.
Doodle ain't perfect.
But let's look at some other games on the list though. Like, Bayonetta. The character's very sexually suggestive, but
it's not a gory
it's
game.
not gory.
Now-
She's not naked, but her hair is her clothing, and when you fight with her hair thins on her body, but she's never like
in Smash
naked.
Brothers.
Yeah, and she's never like naked, but all of her dialogue is like very sexually charged, so it's probably rated mature for that reason.
Yeah, and it's all about shooting guns and fighting things, and she's ripping apart the angels, like
The angels, demons, and
Yeah,
stuff.
isn't her fighting style like gun karate or gun fu or one of those?
Gun
like,
kata is what you're thinking
gun
of.
kata.
No, but
It's not gun kata
close.
specifically, but yeah, it's very.
Oh, it's
basically
not.
that.
Oh, I thought it was.
She has guns in her hands and she has guns in her boots.
Yeah.
As like her default weapons. But it's like a Devil May Cry style game, so you get plenty of different weapons. But
there's definitely a distinction between the mature games. Like there's mature games that are first-person shooters, and then there's mature games like this one, Conker's Bad Fur Day,
which is
and
just
this
like
one.
It's all
edgy
about
language.
raunchiness.
That changed my life.
Yeah. Just raunchiness and bad language.
Didn't it come in a red cartridge or an orange cartridge?
Don't recall the cartridge being a different color, but I could be wrong.
I think it was. Oh, maybe it wasn't.
Right. It just had the title and nothing else. And I think that was a really they were trying not to go first with the with the mascots, because like you show Conker, it's like, oh, it's a cute cuddly animal, it's obviously a kid's game. And so the cover was just like, no, this is a big scary black game.
I'm surprised the M
Actually, look
wasn't
at that.
bigger
That's how
cover.
the game starts. It turns on like that.
Yeah, for mature audiences, because they didn't want to, I mean,
It was on Nintendo.
yeah,
Like that, I didn't understand at all.
Well,
and it was so exciting to
it
me.
was supposed to be
yeah.
subversive, right?
Rare had the cachet to convince Nintendo to let them release this. Do you know if it came out in Japan or if it's only in America?
I
Or
assume it
Europe?
came out in Japan, but I'm not sure. Now it's
Question.
developed in Europe because Rare is in England.
England, right? Yeah.
It's interesting to see like this because this is the Xbox version, which is upscaled.
Oh, it is.
So it looks a lot nicer than it did on the N64. But yeah, it is just filled with, I mean, what I would
Is
argue.
it even very bad language? I've never played it.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It.
Like a bunch of F-bombs or something?
Yeah.
I think they bleep the F's.
They bleep the Fs, but there's a lot of other bad stuff.
But he also, like right here, he's hammered. He gets drunk, like he pees on stuff. You know, that's part of the.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a double entendre.
But it also is very Banjo Kazooie looking.
Yeah. Well, that's why in the beginning they're like, for mature audiences only.
And there weren't a lot of things doing this, you know,
No.
at the time of like taking the cutesy character. This was one of the first where they take the cutesy character and have it be R-rated.
I mean,
you know,
there's
a la
still,
Ted.
I would argue there's not a ton like that still. Like, yeah, Ted is one that is a movie that did
It's
similar
made a TV
things.
show too.
Did they?
Yeah.
But in terms of like games, like cutesy, there's a couple, but not like AAA, well-developed games.
Stick of Truth, the South Park games.
Yeah, everyone knows South Park though is going to be raunchy.
That's a good point. Yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day had no reason to be a mature game. It wasn't supposed to be a mature game when they started developing it.
Oh, really? I thought they always were developing it
No,
to
it
be
was
like,
originally going to
edgy.
be a game called Conquer 12 Tails, and it was a straight kind of cutesy mascot platformer.
okay.
And then, you know, like halfway through, they were like getting sick of doing all this cutesy stuff. They're like, what if we just made him curse a bunch? And then they turned it into Bad Fur Day.
And actually, it's the second installment in the Conker series. There was Conker's Pocket Tales, which was just like a
The Game Boy
G-rated
Color.
game.
Yeah.
on Game Boy.
So I think originally that was the plan.
Yeah.
But good God, what a great game.
Well,
Have you played it?
I actually have not played
It is
the
wonderful.
whole thing.
I can't recommend it enough. Like, it's a legitimately good platformer with interesting elements throughout because, like, it's now it's dated. There's Saving Private Ryan references.
Yeah.
There's the Matrix references, the original Matrix references.
Dated, those movies came out 5 years ago.
Yeah, this came out in 2001. And, oh, geez, it's over 20 years old. It's 23 years old.
23 years old.
Yikes. But it's a great game. Like, he has natural platformer abilities. You know, he has a double jump, and there's a lot of collecting that you have to do. But there's just really neat parts of it where, similar to like a Wario Land, where you'll get hurt or something will happen to you and suddenly you'll have a new power instead of you just like dying or something like that. Like you'll get a sword and then it's a whole different game. You'll get a gun and it's a whole different game. It's a lot of fun.
It is funny that he, you know, originally was going to be a cutesy character, and they even made a game with him. There were 2 games he was in. He was also in Diddy Kong Racing,
That's right.
and he was, you know, a benign Conker. He had a different voice. He's like, I'm Conker. And it's like, okay, he's a cutesy squirrel driving a car. They never really move forward. Like, they could do more with this property, and they haven't.
Yeah, they haven't. You know what they did do? Yes, there was this. There's Project Spark.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what this was, but Conker was the face of it. But wasn't Project Spark like you can make your own game?
Game creation system video game. Yeah.
Yeah, and for
It
whatever
was
reason,
the answer
Conker
to
was
Little Big Planet.
Right.
is an episodic campaign for the game called Conker's Big Reunion, set 10 years after the events of Conker Bad Fur Day. First episode of the campaign was released in April 2015, but the remaining ones were canceled. How? Because Rare.
Yeah.
Is Rare going back to Nintendo, by the way?
No.
Not that I've heard of, no.
Microsoft's just releasing stuff multi-platform now,
Yeah.
so they can release stuff for Nintendo, but
Yeah,
it's still a first-party
Microsoft
Microsoft
property.
Yeah.
Just like Blizzard. and Activision and so many things now.
Everything else.
Everything else. Yeah.
Though some fans and former employees have been critical of the company's output under Microsoft.
Well, the first thing they did, they got bought by Rare. They got bought by Microsoft. They did Grab by the Ghoulies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And everyone was like, what? I didn't realize until a couple years ago that was a double entendre, because Ghoulies in England means your scrotum.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, and Rare's a British endeavor.
So
and
Grab by the Ghoulies is a double entendre.
It's 3+, so it's made for children?
Yeah. Children have testicles.
4-year-olds are playing Xbox games. I don't know. Maybe because I'm old. I feel like 4-year-olds should have to start with like an Atari or an NES or something, a Game Boy.
But
Xbox controller's too big for a 4-year-old. It's bigger than them.
But they're also responsible for what I think is one of the best videos ever, which is the JonTron.
So the whole thing.
That's when we had to build stuff. That's right.
Yeah, so the whole thing was about like building cars.
I'm guessing he didn't love Tears of the Kingdom.
No, so before this, he was like, "Oh, Banjo Kazooie is my favorite game. I love that game so much. Oh, there's a sequel coming out. It isn't anything like the old Banjo.
I mean, look at them.
Yeah, they also looked weird. They're like, hey, Microsoft, redesign Banjo Kazooie.
Well, this is the real sad part of it. I think this was in development of Banjo 3.
Was it?
I think so. It would have come out right after Star Fox Adventures. Also a mature rated game.
Star Fox Adventures is not a mature rated game.
It is not at all.
It is a terrible game.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite mature games? I mean, you were a huge fan of Doom.
I love Doom. Yeah, Doom and Quake. I mean, most of id Software's output, I was a big fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Still big fan of. All the new Dooms are awesome. You didn't play any of the new ones, have you?
I did. On your recommendation, I have Switch ports of them, and they are hard. A little too hard for me. So every time I start getting used to it, I'm like, oh my good God, because the new Dooms, you can't stand still ever.
Yeah.
No.
Ever. You have to
motion
constantly
shooters
be moving.
or something they're called now.
Yeah, it's you got to be jumping or else you're dead.
Yeah.
You got to be moving.
But so what was that? What was the new Doom called?
It was just called Doom. Doom 2016 is what most people refer to it.
And then Doom Eternal, I have that too, but I never even turned it on. But I did watch the cool intro that you mentioned in one of our very first episodes of Tubby Talk, where he cuts off the narration essentially, and just starts building his gun, and just gets out there and starts. It's awesome.
The narration, he's just kills the guy. Enough of that.
Yeah,
and that's in the first. It's in 2016. But yeah, I love those.
What about you?
The Mass Effect series. I was just double checking to make sure it was rated M and not rated T. Because it was a very mature in theme. And mature in gameplay because it was old school, and it felt like trying to play Fallout 2 or something like that. And
it's not
janky.
Like a Gonzo shock value sort of mature. It's kind of here's politics
written by
written by
adults for people, older teens and young adults.
It's like Michael Clayton.
Michael Clayton the movie with George Clooney?
Yes.
Please elaborate.
It's a political thriller with a hard R because the only people interested in political thrillers are already adults.
Got it.
Okay, yeah. In that sense,
there's not a political thriller for kids.
Yeah. There's some Transformers kids TV series that are very political, weirdly.
Yes.
Okay, well then Michael Clayton's a really good analogy for that then.
Yes.
Including
Megatron did not team up with the president to take over. I mean, that would be awesome if you could get House of Cards / Transformers.
I mean, there just has to be a IDW comic series like that.
It's true.
I need to check it. But yeah, so anyway, Mass Effect, it was a political thriller, a sci-fi political thriller, and then they're like, oh, we need kids to play it too. We're going to add the fact you can hook up with alien babes and you can bang them.
That's why they did it?
It wasn't why they did it. They did it. It was designed for them, but it was marketed especially with starting with Mass Effect 2 after EA bought BioWare.
They were like, we need the horny teen.
Yeah, it was
vote, so we're going
Mass
to
Effect
add
2
this.
was much hornier than Mass Effect 1 because EA was like, you need to sell this to 13-year-olds.
How?
Because you want them to play this.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
Nice.
2 was hornier than 3.
Yeah.
And nobody likes the end of 3, right?
I'm sorry. 2 was hornier than 1. 3 was also pretty horny because that was also during EA.
Well, like, well, why stop a good thing? Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
I like Steve's horny meter of like video games.
But no, so like in the first game, it was like, yeah, you went on missions with your teammates. You could form, video game style relationships with your teammates. You're like, oh, this person, you like this person likes the thing. You give them the thing they like. Eventually, they're like
assigned one.
Yeah,
like
they're like,
teammates,
hey,
do you
we're
mean
gonna be
NPCs?
Yeah, your teammate NPCs. And they'd be like, hey, we'll be friends. And if you're of opposite sex in the first one, then we can bang. And then the second and third one, they were like, hey, let's bang. But first, let's do some missions where we have to grind out loyalty points with each other, with these characters. And then we can bang when your meter gets high enough. Like, it was very telegraphed in the second and third
And
ones.
I feel like that's a big subgenre now. It's just like relationship simulators crammed into other games.
Yeah, which aren't necessarily mature.
Not,
relationship
so not
simulators,
necessarily
but-
like mature content, but
Everyone's trying to make them mature. I mean, that goes back to The Sims.
I think
Everybody's
just the
trying to
idea
make
of
them-
nurturing a relationship could be that's mature.
Yeah, make them lecherous is probably what video game companies are worried about, or people that are worried about the ratings of games are worried about.
See, these
They
things
think about
always
mature.
they always kind of bug me, and I think mostly it's because of Fire Emblem Awakening. You ever play that
How
game?
are we going to make this connection?
All right, so
Here
Fire
we go.
Emblem is a strategy game about taking armies and combating them in turn-based fights.
Yeah.
But there's also a relationship element where at some point the person you have the most affinity for marries you. And to me, this was a shock because I was playing the game and I was just kind of swapping people in and out depending on like the stats. And I wasn't really thinking about any of them as people. They were stats. And then suddenly one of the person who I think I did 2 missions with, she was like, oh, I've loved you all along. Let's get married. And my character's like, yes, I love you too.
The best part about Fire Emblem
And they both
Awakening,
found their way into Smash Brothers.
yeah. So what happens in that game too? When that happens, a portal opens up in front of you.
Yeah.
And a person pops out, and who turns out is your baby from the future.
Yeah, so your baby from the future joins your party. And their stats based on like your combined stats, right?
Yeah, so like if you have like an infantry unit and a flyer unit, you'll get like a mix of the 2 type of stats. Yeah, it was ridiculous in that game in particular because other Fire Emblem games before that had like a affinity system, and other RPGs do too. Where like you have 2 units fight alongside each other a lot. They get stats when they're near each other in battle.
Basically, yeah. When you
But then
fight
they
next
added
to
a-
someone, you fall in love with them, which is what happens in real life, right?
Yeah,
Yes, so it did in Mass
Yeah.
Effect.
Yeah. And so like they added more of like a direct relationship sim like into it because the previous games just had people that like ship different characters.
Yeah.
Like normal fandoms of things.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they were like, we can make that fandom real. And they had a time portal where the baby pops out right after you get
Yeah,
together.
the time
So you
portal.
don't have to wait for because the other games, they would be like, oh, the one game, you whoever you marry, the character's married in. The next game, they have kids.
Mhm.
And like in the sequel.
I just
And
found
in this one, they were like, you get them immediately.
it was
Are they
so
worth
abrupt.
playing?
Oh, they're great games.
If you like, if you like a tactical RPG, is great. There's like a rock paper scissors style combat where like sword beats axe beats lance beats sword, and you have different movement types. Like some move 3 squares, some move 5
Did
squares.
you played Advance Wars, right?
I have played Advanced
Yeah,
Wars.
So
it's-
it's kind of like Advance Wars in
It's
the
a
gameplay.
Yeah. It's a slightly like Awakening specifically is a slightly more complicated Advance Wars.
So basically, instead of like you make a generic tank, it's like, hey, I got this horse guy, and he's the same horse guy I'll keep, and his stats grow, and like it's like the units grow with you.
Yeah, but like
Oops,
there'll
sorry.
be yeah. But it's things like yeah, like and the different characters have different unit types have different stats, and then in Fire Emblem there's different types of units like I forget what the kid's name was in Fire Emblem Awakening, but he starts off weak. And if you-
Donald.
yeah, down now.
He wears a pot on
Yeah,
his
he has
head.
a pot on his. He was like a farmer.
He's like a farmer
Nice.
with a pot on his
He's like, I want to help, but
he's like an 8-year-old. He's like, I'm gonna help you
Yeah.
guys, and he's stuck.
yeah, he's all his stats are terrible at level 1, and you get him to like level 20, and he's stronger than every other character.
He's basically
designed to.
he's the Magikarp of
yeah,
that
he's designed to be
universe.
turn into Gyarados.
All right, this guy?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Oh,
he,
good God.
he starts off weak. He just gets stronger and stronger until he's like the best unit on your team.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Or you have like
If you have the patience, I was like, screw this. It's really hard to like bring dead weight in that game, I find.
yeah, because you have to like last hit to get the experience
Yes.
too.
So you have to have him kill someone. It's not going to happen.
That's why you have him fight alongside another character and they get a good rapport and he gets extra 2 attacks. So maybe he kills something.
This is a game about war, right? And it's about relationships. Is it mature? It's not mature rated. It's not bloody. It doesn't have terrible language, but like...
Yeah, it's not House of Cards. Just more like the Hunger Games or Shatter and Bones level.
Here's an interesting thought.
Young adult maturity.
I think the mature rating doesn't really apply to mature themes as much as it applies to blood and sex.
I mean, in America, no. It's always about blood and sex for the game rating.
Blood, sex, and cursing, right? Like that's what'll do it for you.
And they'll often put mature themes, meaning it has cursing. But yeah, they don't. There's plenty of political based games that are not rated M.
Yeah.
That are released.
It's not objectionable content.
Yeah.
Like you might be bored. It's like, all right, one of the earliest examples. The NES had a game called Wall Street Kid. Have you heard of this game?
I have heard of this game.
It is a game about trading stocks. It is marketed to children ostensibly. I always saw it in like the.
Wait, is that the box art or was it based on a comic book?
No, that's the box art.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the box art.
Boo.
1 second. You got 1 more second.
Yeah, but I'm a premium YouTuber.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because you have to go to YouTube itself and not this interface. But yeah, Wall Street Kid.
Yep.
This is a game straight up. I am trading stocks. That is the gameplay. It's also a relationship simulator because you have a girlfriend named Priscilla.
Yeah.
And Priscilla's like, buy me things.
Well, the Wall Street Kid is featuring the Wall Street Kid.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he a pre-existing character or is this made up for this?
And
made it up for
Priscilla,
this
the
game.
pricey
Okay,
prima
no,
donna.
it's just like a credits.
Larry, the
Roll.
lofty lawyer.
The best thing about this game, though, is the first cutscene. Once it gets through this, man, the second they hit start, it's my favorite intro of any game
If I've ever played
at
this.
all
I don't
these
remember this intro
characters.
though.
Stanley, the crafty consultant. Ralph, the regal realtor.
The bogus boat salesman. Boat salesman's a long name.
Why do we care?
I didn't notice all of these people are white.
Hit the Wall Street Kid.
Yeah, but Ted's the tough stereo man.
What's a stereo?
Man.
Dion is just Dion.
But it was Dion.
Sorry, Dion.
Dio.
Julie the Jolly Jeweler.
Yeah, all right. The second. Oh, what's that?
Jeez
Oh,
Louise.
no.
That's because you had a state senator in here.
That's
so now
right.
everything's going to be PA
Serves me right.
commercials.
They heard you.
It's a beautiful commercial, though.
Here,
Whoever
this
shot that.
scene right here.
Hello, I'm Larry, a lawyer employed by your distant uncle, Mr. Benedict. I'm sorry to say he's passed away.
Look at their faces. I'm sorry to say he's passed away. Here, look at that big smile.
It's Wall Street.
As his only
Like you
surviving
said.
relative, you may be eligible to inherit over $600 billion.
600 billion? This is the 80s. This is the 80s. 600 billion?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
First, you must prove yourself. You'll be provided with $500,000, for which you must turn a profit true to
A
stock
small
market.
loan.
Yeah.
Use the profits to uphold the Benedict standard of living. What? Pamper your sweetheart and move into a decent $1 million house.
It's great. You have 1 month? Dude, that's
You'll
actually...
have 1 month to purchase the house. I'll have a real estate agent call you. And you know what? We already know the real estate agent's name.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the premise of Wall Street Kid. What kid was going to play this game? I really want to know.
So you never played it?
No. I saw it on the shelf. I'm like, why would I ever want to buy that? And so later, I came and played it as an adult. And I was like, man, this is a boring game. Look, you look at the phone and you call up the real estate agent. You call up a broker. I don't want to call a broker. I'm playing a video game.
I was about to say all NES games weren't made for children, but then I looked at the box art. Remember the box art, and I was like, oh yeah, that is very
Wall
children's.
Street Kid, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like James Bond Jr.
I mean, he's not a little kid. He's like 20. His dad died and
just
gave him
a
$600
boy.
million. So
And he's very thrilled about it. It's like, I'm sorry to. He's like, yeah.
yeah, he gets $600 billion.
Look
He's
at
not
all
thinking
the
about his
fun
dad.
you can have. You know what I do love?
Conrail.
I love the font.
Wait.
I
yeah.
love this
Wait,
font.
That's great.
these are great puns. Could you go back?
Sure.
Got Xerox, Yapple,
Hoffman.
Strayhound,
My favorite's near the top. Boing.
Oh, instead of Boeing.
Crier,
Rebucks. Rattel toys. You remember Mattel toys?
Pan Mam, Marinot, Rebucks, Chuck
Oh,
Schwab.
Marinot is Marriott.
This is awesome.
That is funny.
This is
Chuck
great.
Schwab.
It's funny.
Wait, what's Teradiing?
I don't know.
Under Great Stray Hounds.
Well, I'm thinking Pterodec from my world.
But yeah, this is the game.
Just American
Okay, so
Express.
yes, this should have been rated mature.
Right?
Mature themes.
Oh, yeah. So back to what I was going to say before this hilarious side mission. Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, was rated T for teen. You know, it's a game about sniping people from cover with high-powered sniper rifles from 20 yards away, 20 miles away.
But you don't see the blood, I guess.
Yeah, so like
It's
you don't
too
see
far
much
away.
blood. Yeah, but the theme, it was all political themed. It was all about like a proxy war with like Russia. So yeah, it was the first one.
Ghost Recon 2 is teen.
The first one listed was also teen, which was the first game in the series, I believe. That one.
This one?
No, the very first one to the left. Yeah, Advanced Warfare. That's
Xbox 360?
No.
Yeah. That's a remake. That's a re-release. I'm pretty sure because it came out on PC in like around 2000.
I
But that's
think
rated T for teen.
Advanced Warfare is a sequel.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
So the sequel was teen and the original one was mature.
Well, Ghost Recon 2 was teen.
That one, actually, the one on GameCube should be it as
Should
well.
be the original.
Yeah, the second one. Look at that listing at DK.
That one's M.
Oh, it is M. Game of the year.
2 was definitely not.
But that's the original.
Yeah, so that's weird that
It
they
from
went up and down.
M to teen.
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe
We
they-
gotta get those kids.
Yeah, they must learn how to get
There's
away
no
with
kids
the T
caring
rating.
about Tom Clancy anymore. We gotta get the kids.
Nobody cares about the Clancy.
We're not selling novels.
I don't know if there are people under 60 who are caring about the Tom Clancy's anymore.
Great name.
Tom Clancy's had so many video games. Like,
I guess
He's-
he did.
he's-
I mean,
he's played
Ghost
none of
Recon's the
them.
famous one.
yeah.
So he had a
Look
plane.
up list of Tom Clancy
You
games.
got
There's a jet fighting one that was Tom Clancy, which I didn't know about till later. I can't remember
A
what it.
jet fighting one.
Yeah, he'll pull up on the list. I can't remember what the name is now.
Dang. Like, that's
It's not Ace
Here's an
Combat because that
image.
was like Arcadia. It's something like that though.
whew. Hawks.
Oh, he had
Hawks was
submarine
the
games in the
jet one.
80s.
The jet one was Hawks with an
Rainbow.
X.
Oh, Rainbow
Hawks,
6
Hawks
is
2.
Tom Clancy. That's right.
Yeah.
Politica. These look like PC games.
They do
Those are
look
80s. Yeah, so
very
most of these are
old.
based off of his books.
The Division.
Ghost Recon was not, I don't believe. Maybe, I can think Ghost Recon was a video game idea.
Yet likely the
The
most
Division
successful.
was a video game idea, I'm
There's
pretty
a
sure.
game of Sum of All Fears, and it looks like it's Morgan Freeman in the cover of that Sum of All Fears video.
Was that an R-rated movie?
Yeah, almost certainly. It was definitely a political thriller.
Just look how great that looks. Man. Sum of All Fears. Yeah, so, yeah, some kids can be like, yeah, Sum of All Fears.
Was that the
Mom,
one? Was
give
that
me
the one he
that.
jumped in front of the president to take a bullet for him?
Oh, this is just them talking about it.
No, the Some More Fears the one with the nuke. They were
Some of
trying
All
to
Fears
blow up
has
like
Ben
the-
Affleck in it.
There was somebody was like trying to nuke the president
also
or DC or something
Someone
like
else. Oh, and Morgan Freeman.
that. No, they want to nuke a Giants game. One of the Tom Clancy's movies. Somebody's trying to blow up Giant Stadium while the president's there during a football
But,
game.
you know, okay, it's a shooter.
I think it's Some of All Fears.
Yeah.
So they're like underground doing probably under Giant Stadium.
Well, they're trying to find all the fears so they can add them together. That's what you do.
That'd be the rated E for everyone version. 1 fear plus 2 fear equal 3 fears.
And then you bring the Morgan Freeman and he goes, good job. That's what I want to hear.
Morgan Freeman video game.
How many
He was
games is
in
Morgan
any video
Freeman in?
games.
That's a good question. At least one. We have one.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Hunted by Morgan Freeman.
That's gotta be a mod or something.
The Hidden. Morgan Freeman plays Call of Duty World War II.
These questions. Was Morgan Freeman in Roots? What role did Morgan Freeman play in Hello, Dolly?
He was?
Yeah, dude, everyone.
He was?
Everyone was in Roots.
No, he was not Kunta Kinte.
Yeah, he absolutely was not. What are these people talking
Yeah,
about?
what's the source on that? Oh, it's on Twitter. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The internet's
I
trash
was like,
now,
that's not
by
even
the
a
way.
picture of Roots.
With the
Google.
electric company.
Oh, yeah. Man, I haven't seen him young in a very long time.
Yeah, not since the Electric
Guys, this is our
Company.
game.
His face is totally different.
This is our game. We are going to create the
It's
Morgan
the same.
Freeman
He's-
game.
It's the same. He has more moles on it now.
No, okay, well, Morgan Freeman typically plays God, so you need to have a God simulator where Morgan Freeman tells you whether or not you're being a good God.
He plays a boss of a secret league of assassins in the movie Wanted, which has the most
Oh, he is
forced
in
curse
one.
word I've ever seen uttered. It looks like they had him say it under duress and it edited it into the
Wait, Morgan
scene.
Freeman's the one who curses?
Yeah.
That would sound unnatural, I think.
He's like having a conversation. He drops an F-bomb, but it like, I swear the frame skips. like they composited it after the fact, but we're off center. So you notice that he cursed.
Oh, it's like as the bullet goes into his head. I remember
and
this.
his head like moves forward like in a
Good
unnatural
God, sorry,
angle.
everybody, about these political ads. There we go.
This is not me fulfilling my destiny. What? This is the movie?
Yeah, it's about.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. No,
Now we're rated M for mature.
Wait. What is this
Have
movie?
you seen Wanted?
it's about
No.
people that can have the ability to bend bullets through physics.
It's a great movie. It's a
And maybe
who is
supernatural
it? It's
abilities.
the guy that made Kingsman and X-Men first, Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
I think it's a Matthew Vaughn
Yeah, it
movie,
sounds
but
about right.
it's great.
As you describe it, it sounds very goofy.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Well, that's his style. Is like goofy, mature.
Tongue-in-cheek,
Hey,
yeah.
we're back on track. Mortal Kombat.
Hey!
I mean, actually, you'll see like a whole Mortal Kombat thing, but.
This is, I mean, I've never seen a bullet go through Morgan Freeman's head.
So
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman is the bad guy, and he's coming up, and he's
Yeah.
catching this
He
guy
was-
that works his
yeah,
desk. But
he was like his boss, but
That's
then he
not
turned
the
out to be
guy.
the bad guy.
hey,
And he's standing on the mark.
I met James McAvoy last year.
Okay, no, that's what the F-bomb seems fine. The head moves forward weird when the bullet goes through it. Yeah.
Oh, that. What?
It doesn't move back when he rewinds it. That just it should mess. But yeah,
He's
he
got
shot the bullet
super
from over
bullets.
there. He bent it.
Oh, it went through all these car windows.
They have like the
You know what,
Captain
guys?
America inherent like angle ability,
You know what?
but
I-
also they move their guns when they shoot them, so the bullets come out curved.
Whoa! Look at a pre
Chris Pratt.
Guardians of the Galaxy Chris Pratt hero.
Isn't that the woman from Pitch Perfect too?
Oh, I don't know. The blonde lady?
Yeah, she's like the religious one or something.
I don't think so. And there's McAvoy.
Yeah, so he shot it from there and used his wanted powers to be able to make the bullet curve slightly.
Yeah, that's based on a Mark Millar comic book. I think it's Miller, but you say Millar because it's spelled
Is he Scottish
M-I-L-I-R.
or something.
Oh.
Who sold like the Millerverse to Netflix. But
still
this
haven't
was
done
this,
it.
I think he made like I think there's 2 live action versions of his. Well, Hit
There's a couple of them.
Girl and
Kick Ass.
Kick Ass is from that. But again, I think I like this style of mature. I like mature that's just playing and it's a little silly. You know, the Mortal Kombat of it all. I think I enjoy that, but I also understand why you should shield that from children.
Sure.
But it's awesome for a 12-year-old, and I'm still
gory
12 in my
fun.
head.
I see why people want to shield it from their kids. I don't necessarily, not being a parent, I'm very biased. I don't necessarily think it's going to make the kids become murderers or killers, because that was a lot of reason for the ESRB being pressured into existence in the first place, was they're like, violent video games are going to make our kids violent. And there's not been any studies that show that that's a thing.
The desensitization was the argument. Like, if they see this blood and gore all the time, then when they see real blood and gore in real life, it won't faze them.
They already saw blood and gore on TV.
Well, what's
all the
crazy
time.
is, like, in my experience, I saw lots of blood and gore, like, when I was growing up, in media. And then when you see it in real life, it's very different.
It's very different.
Understated. And you're like, this is way scarier, completely more real. It's a different beast.
Because it's not you get hit with a bullet and parts of you give out the back. You get hit with a bullet and you don't even notice you're bleeding at first.
you like slump down and
And then you see somebody get shot. You're like, oh my
Well,
God,
I mean,
they're
here's
bleeding.
a perfect example. Like Resident Evil was one of my first exposures to
You find cheese.
zombies, blood and guts, and
Not
all
cheese
that kind
blood.
of stuff.
Whose blood do you find? Barry?
berries.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about House of the Dead. Jeez,
Yeah,
blood.
that was House of Dead cheese blood. Yeah, Barry's blood is Resident Evil.
So there's this game is called Fear and Hunger. And if you
Okay.
haven't watched like a playthrough of it, it's
Oh,
like
a new game in the
insane.
style of like a SNES game.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like hyper violent and really gory and messed up. And it's one of these games where like it teaches you by killing you all the time. But as you can see, they're blurring this out for YouTube.
Yeah.
So this is like as far as you can go. And I think one of the characters is like this zombie and you can mate with another zombie and become this super evil warlock thing. But this is one where it's kind of like, if the devil took you down D&D. There's that like kind of mature theme as well.
Unfortunately.
It's almost like, what if you took an RPG and crossed it with a snuff film? Hey.
Or crossed with Time Killers.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I'm
assuming that would have had a mature rating if that was ever released on consoles.
I remember seeing that in the arcade, and it's one of the first games that made me feel physically sick when I saw it.
I've never actually come across it.
You talking about this?
Yeah.
What is this? I've never heard of this.
It was a fighting game, but the whole gimmick was that you could lop off your opponent's limbs, and you would continue fighting without the limb. But I remember like the limb would like wiggle on the ground a little bit as it fell, and I was like, "Wow, this is
this is an arm,
man." Yeah, that's an arm.
Time Killers
versus Leaf.
It wasn't a good game. I never played it.
It was only notable because of the gore.
Yeah, it was a pure shock value. Put your quarter in and see the shock.
Yeah, put it this way: as a 10-year-old, I wished I could have found an arcade that had Time Killers. I was searching for one.
Yeah,
and somebody once told me that an arcade half a city away had Time Killers, and I walked there.
It's funny because
they
now
had no Time Killers. I was
the
really
art
upset.
is very bad.
Very bad.
You know what it reminds me of? You ever play Double Dragon? The Shadow Falls
fighting game. Yeah,
the Double Dragon fighting game based off the cartoon based off of Double Dragon.
Yes,
that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, a lot. The characters in this aren't quite as. I feel like the Double Dragon characters were the height of the screen to the detriment of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Like it's like, why are they so big?
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so it just pops off, and this is just pure shock value.
This is also Rancid versus Rancid.
Yeah.
You guys remember Night Stalkers?
No, Nights.
You mean Darkstalkers?
Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Darkstalkers. Well,
That was
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's got great art.
Yeah, is that?
That's not gory.
Was that M?
No.
No, it should teen at most.
I think this is one of those games that had this beautiful noise in the beginning of it.
Yeah, the Capcom. Yeah. Virtual audio.
Oh no, this one had the cacophonous Q sound. I always hated that.
It's cacophonous on
Yeah,
the
because it's
emulators.
stereo. Well, no, in the arcade, if you didn't have a proper speaker setup, then it would come out like that, and I would hate it.
Yeah, Darkstalkers, God, that needs a reboot.
Well, you and everyone else keeps begging Capcom to make it, especially with Street Fighter 6. With the they have the Street Fighter 6
engine,
they could just make Darkstalkers, and they refuse. They made like a Darkstalkers like outfit for like Street Fighter 5, and that was as far as they acknowledged it.
I mean, I think it's
they also did a
pretty niche.
re-release of the original game, but
Yeah,
they didn't even upgrade them or anything like that.
Like, I feel like they must not have rights somehow. They must have lost some rights somewhere.
It's so niche. Like, we played it and we liked it a lot, but
I mean, you say it's niche, but there's niche fighting games like, what was it, Skullgirls or the other like super anime one that sell enough that they could make their money back if they made it and have goodwill.
Was made by like an indie studio.
But
like, it's a different story.
But yeah, you put 10 people on it, you make your money back, earn goodwill with the fighting game community.
I agree, they should do that, but no one does that. No one takes a small team and just makes, a good game. They gotta go all big, put all the eggs in a basket, and then pray.
So it's like the movie industry?
Yeah, I was hearing about this. What was the one movie that almost won the Oscar with the Native Americans?
Flower Moon, House of the Flower.
So yeah, apparently
Flower Moon.
Apple made that for $200 million. And there was an argument made like, well, it's great they made this movie. Couldn't they have made $10, $20 million movies?
So the director of the movie American Fiction, he said that during his acceptance speech.
Yeah.
He's like, making $200 million movies make 10, 20 million ones.
Which is a fair argument. Like,
Yeah,
we're like,
I'm
oh,
glad
then
he
you could
said
have a more variety of stuff coming out and make great movie. You can make a great movie for $20 million if you have a dedicated crew and idea.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they're like, do you want to make great movies? Take a chance that movie's great and make someone that aren't so great for the same amount of money you used to make one boring tentpole blockbuster, which will make your money back, but it's not necessarily going to be good.
I mean, that's literally why everything is PG-13 instead of, R. So I'm sure it's got to be the same thing with games, who do games even appeal to now?
I mean, there's
everybody.
such a broad swath
there
of
are
humans.
games that appeal to literally everybody.
Yeah.
They're not always the same game.
You talk about
but there are games for, there's a game for everybody.
Super Mario Kart, it would be a game I would say appeals to a very wide demographic. Kids to adults, ranging across everything.
Yes, but then there's also lots of people that love games for stories and story and interaction story you can only have in a video game. They aren't as enamored with Mario Kart because there's no story.
Right. Well, I bet most of those people still like playing Mario Kart.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not as universal as.
I saw an awesome
What you
joke
think?
about Mario Kart just recently where someone was like, look, if my girlfriend was getting kidnapped by a monster all the time, I definitely wouldn't have fun go-kart adventures with that monster. I would not invite him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Bowser gets invited. He
Bowser
just shows up in his own cart. That's why he doesn't. Actually, no, he must be crashing because he doesn't have a cart that fits him. He's always driving in this big man in a little tiny.
It's interesting, like the relationship with Bowser, because you feel like in Kirby, King DDD is kind of like a frenemy now. Like they're kind of buddies. I don't think Bowser's a frenemy of Mario. They're just enemies, but he's a bad enemy. So Mario like tolerates him being around. Like, you're so bad at this.
Well,
Hang out.
Mario doesn't kill.
Mario
So,
Kirby will kill.
Are
Yeah.
you sure? Mario has burned Bowser alive.
He's tried.
Well, then he comes
In
back.
one, he turns into a whole skeleton. Like he burns his skin off.
Then Bowser's immortal.
Mario's mature rated. We got
Okay,
that.
then Mario can't kill, put it that way. Can't kill his greatest enemy because he's immortal, because Bowser comes back from any injury.
Dry Bowser is pretty terrifying. Actually, look up Super Metroid when you kill Crocomire. You know the scene I'm talking about? Yeah. This stunned me as a kid, seeing this scene. Have you seen this, Steve? Okay. Yeah, so, it's a creepy monster. It's kind of gloppy looking, kind of gross.
Par for the course. God,
Yeah.
Super Metroid still looks great.
Yeah, it does. It's a timeless game. But the way it dies
Yep.
is nuts. This is a quick kill. Oh, it goes.
Yeah, they did a supercharged shot.
Yeah. So you knock the Crocomire into the acid, and what happens to it? Its flesh rips off.
Yep.
It's still alive now. It's popping up. It has no eyeballs. It's still alive.
That's what acid does.
Ah,
Rated E for everyone.
I remember thinking
that's
as
what
a
acid
kid, I was like, oh my God, it's still alive as it's burning to death. Horrifying.
See, all of this is just more fuel for my theory that you just show your kid one act of senseless violence when they're like 5. Mine was Predator. Watching a guy's arm get chopped off by an invisible monster, and then nothing phases me ever since then.
So your first was Carl Weathers' arm getting cut off.
Yeah, but most importantly, by an invisible monster.
Yes.
Which was like, there's a monster that's invisible. It can so tuck your limbs off. And after that, I'm like, nothing else scares me. Nothing's as scary as that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I saw that. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what acid does. And you two are like, oh my God, as a kid, I was so shook by this. And I'm like, for me, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ultimately, there's a lot to be said on this topic. You know, what makes it mature and what doesn't. Certainly, it doesn't seem like themes do. But as we found out from Wall Street Kid, some games should have been rated mature and weren't. But there's also just teen games that really push the edge. I think it's just money, right?
Yeah,
It's got to be if I want more people to play it, I'm going to get it as a teen.
And then there's some games where you're like, I'm going to let it be rated M to make it known that any kids that want to play this can sneakily buy it. Because they're not going to not buy. No kid's going to look at it and be like, it's rated M. I can't buy that.
There's a little bit, though, where I think creators want to push it and express themselves, and sometimes expressing themselves means getting edgy. Because you look at, if you just want to make money, you want to release the everyone sort of games like Just Dance. You release Just Dance. You make a couple $1 million, you barely spend any money. No problem. Done.
They could release the mature version of Just Dance where there's a bunch of songs where you twerk.
I'm just imagining now the silhouettes twerking. Thank you, Steve.
And it's rated M for mature. Peggy 18.
So this is Touch of the Dead.
I did not know there was a Touch of the Dead.
for Nintendo DS.
Just you tap
Is that
the touch screen?
Sega?
No, it's a
No.
Nintendo DS.
Yeah, but
Because you
Sega
gotta
could've
touch the
developed-
dead.
Oh, it's not. I don't think it's
It's
Sega. It doesn't look like a House of the Dead game.
it looks low rent. That's crazy.
It's not so mature rated games. It's not just porn and violence.
No.
There's also Wall Street.
Although,
Yeah. We got there.
Anything else to say?
no.
No blood and guts. I mean, we'll go back to not blood and guts next time, most likely. Most likely.
More blood, more guts.
Okay, maybe not.
Tubby guts is what we should call it. Then.
Tubby Guts.
Actually, maybe we can just make that a Halloween edition.
I'll draw an edgy Tubby where he's rusted and covered with blood.
Tubby where guts are falling out of his compartment in the middle. It's open. It's not ripped open. He just opens it and the guts are falling out.
Yeah.
And don't forget to watch our original episodes at the Tubby Robot Ice Cream Factory on YouTube.
Villains.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Spin-off games.
See you next time.
F those kids.
YUNKJunk!